Half of all main sewer line failures in older homes come from tree roots. Not age, not corrosion, roots. And the repair, when it gets that far, runs $60 to $250 a linear foot. A typical 60-foot run puts you somewhere between $3,500 and $15,000, plus a trench across your front garden. The prevention costs about $15 a year. Now here's the part that made me want to do this one. The remedy everybody recommends for it is the wrong one. Let's find out. First, what's actually happening under your lawn. Your main sewer line runs from the house out to the street, buried 3 to 6 feet down. If your house went up before about 1985, there's a good chance it's clay pipe laid in sections, and every joint between those sections is a seam. Roots don't attack pipe. They're not trying to get in. What they're doing is following water, and a sewer line is the warmest, wettest thing in your soil. Vapor escapes through a hairline gap at a joint. A root tip finds it, and once it's through, it has found an unlimited water supply with nutrients in it. So it grows, not a root anymore, a mat. A dense mass that fills the pipe like a sieve, catching everything you send down it. And the symptoms are so gradual, you'll blame everything else first. A toilet that gurgles when the washing machine drains. One drain running slower than the rest. A faint smell in the garden after rain. Backups that clear themselves and come back a month later. 25 years of maintenance work, and I'll tell you the pattern I saw over and over. Nobody calls about a sewer line. They call about a slow toilet, 3 separate times, and pay a call-out fee each time. The fourth call is the emergency. If your house is over 30 years old and you've got a mature tree within 30 feet of that line, this is not a maybe. Cottonwoods, willows, silver maples are the worst offenders, and a large tree's roots travel a lot further than the branches suggest. All right, the remedy everybody names, copper sulfate. Half a cup down the toilet, flush it twice, walk away. It's $10 to $20 for a 2-pound container, and that's 6 to 12 treatments. It's been the standard advice for 50 years. And for most houses, I'd skip it. 4 reasons. It corrodes old metal pipes. If you've got cast iron anywhere in your drain system, and plenty of older houses do, years of copper sulfate works on it. You'd be trading a root problem for a pipe problem. It's restricted in some areas. It's toxic to fish and aquatic life if it reaches a waterway, and some jurisdictions have banned it outright. Worth 30 seconds of checking before you buy it. If you're on a septic system, occasional use is tolerated. Frequent use damages the bacterial balance in the tank, which is the thing making your septic system work. And the one that actually matters, copper sulfate kills root tips on contact. It does not penetrate an established mass. So it stops new growth at the surface it touches and leaves the mat sitting in your pipe. Half a cup down a toilet also gets heavily diluted before it ever reaches the roots. It isn't useless. As light annual prevention on a line that's already clear, it does something. But if you've already got a root problem, it's the wrong tool, and it's the one everybody reaches for. So what works? Foaming root killer. The active ingredient is usually dichlobenil. You pour the powder into the toilet, flush, follow with the specified amount of hot water, and it foams on contact. That foam is the entire point. Water runs along the bottom of a pipe, so anything you flush only touches the bottom third. Foam expands and fills the pipe, coating the walls and the crown and everything growing off them, and it stays there for hours instead of washing past in seconds. It's $40 to $80 a treatment, which is more than copper sulfate. It's septic safe at the recommended dose. And it kills roots more thoroughly and stops regrowth for longer. Once a year as prevention. Twice a year if you've had active root pressure before. Best time is autumn, when the tree is pulling everything downward anyway. Now, the honest limit, and I want to be blunt about it because nobody selling this stuff will be, chemical treatment only reaches the roots inside the pipe. It does nothing about the crack that let them in. Read that again. The gap at the joint is still there. The tree is still there. The water is still escaping. So the roots come back every single time. What you're buying with that annual treatment is time. You're keeping the pipe clear and stopping the mat from becoming the thing that cracks the pipe open. That's genuinely worth $15 to $80 a year. But anyone telling you a box of powder permanently solves tree roots is selling you something. 2 more things worth knowing. If you've got an active blockage right now, chemicals are not your fix. A root mat that's already stopping flow needs cutting out mechanically. That's professional hydrojetting, $400 to $900, and the proper version pairs it with a foaming treatment applied immediately afterwards so the cut ends don't just regrow. That combination is the gold standard, and it typically holds 2 to 4 years. I'm not going to pretend that's a ripoff because it isn't. You cannot jet a sewer line with anything you own. What you can do is make sure you never need it more than every few years, and that's what the annual treatment buys you. And if the pipe has actually collapsed or a section is crushed, no chemistry helps. That's the dig, or pipelining if you're lucky, where they run a resin sleeve through the existing pipe and cure it in place. Costs less than excavation and leaves you with a smooth, jointless surface roots can't get into. The other thing, find your cleanout. There's a capped pipe sticking up somewhere between your house and the street, usually near the foundation, sometimes buried under a bit of turf. That's the access point to your main line. Know where it is before you need it, because when you do need it, you'll be standing in something you'd rather not be standing in, explaining to someone on the phone that you don't know where it is. Now, how do you confirm it's roots and not something else? You can't, not properly, without a camera down the line. A plumber's inspection runs $150 to $400, and it tells you 3 things a guest never will, whether it's roots or grease or a collapsed section, where along the run it is, and whether the pipe itself is still sound. If you're about to spend money either way, spend it on knowing first. I've watched people treat a line for 2 years that had a crushed section 40 feet out. And here's the one that catches people. In most places, you're responsible for the lateral, which is the pipe from your house to the main under the street, not to your property line, to the main. So a failure out under the pavement is often still your bill. And your standard home insurance usually won't touch it because it's classed as wear rather than damage. There's separate service line cover for that, and it's cheap, worth 10 minutes on the phone before you ever need it. Walter's verdict: foaming root killer, 4 wrenches out of 5. It works, it's cheap against the alternative, and once a year is not a burden. It loses a wrench because it manages a problem rather than solving one, and the marketing on the box does not make that clear. Copper sulfate, 2 wrenches, busted mostly. It has a narrow use as light prevention on a clean line if you're not on septic and your pipes aren't metal. Outside that, it's the wrong tool with a good reputation, and it can damage the thing you're protecting. So here's what to do this week. Walk your garden and find where your main line likely runs, house to street. Then look at what's growing within 30 feet of it. If that's a mature tree and the house predates the mid-80s, you're in the 50%. Find your cleanout and put something on it you'll recognize. And if you've had a gurgling toilet, or one slow drain, or a backup that cleared itself, that's not 4 separate problems. That's one problem telling you 4 times. Now here's what this video is actually about, and it isn't roots. Everything expensive that happened to a house I ever worked on was slow. Not one of those emergencies was an emergency. The roof that came in had been staining a ceiling for 2 years. The boiler that died had been short cycling since the spring. The sewer line that collapsed had been gurgling at somebody for a decade while they blamed the toilet. The bill is never for the failure. The bill is for the years you had to notice and didn't. And the reason those years get missed isn't laziness. It's that a house talks to you in symptoms that each look small enough to live with on their own. One slow drain is nothing. One slow drain, a gurgle, and a smell after rain is a sentence. Nobody teaches you to read the sentence. So the $15 box isn't really the point. The point is that you now know what a root problem sounds like 3 years before it cost you anything, and that's the part no plumber can sell you. Tell me what to pull apart next.